So thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Brandie VanOrder. I will say I have a few more words than I'm proud of on these slides, so whoops. We've been challenged by a lot of people, including Wilson, to take risks this evening, and this is me taking a risk being on this stage. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. The map up on the screen represents me in a nutshell. The blue states are all the places that I have lived, no political reference intended. I did graduate from Boise State University. I'm currently in the higher ed program at Vanderbilt, and that star out in West Texas, that's El Paso, and it's the one place that I really, truly do call home. After graduating from Boise State, I traveled full-time as a consultant for my sorority, truly lived out of a suitcase. Everything else I owned was in storage, and I visited 19 universities in those 10 states in just 8 months. And so this session came from a few lessons that I learned, positive and negative, about first impressions at colleges and universities. This is grounded in some campus ecology theory. W. Bruce Walsh, got to get those initials right, said that the social ecological theory, which contributes this unique aspect of believing that the physical environment contributes to student development theory, that was something unique that was being talked about in the 70s and 80s. We don't talk about it so much anymore, but the key takeaway is that there's a transactional relationship between students and the campus environment, the physical campus environment. And I think it's not too big of a stretch to say that that transactional relationship exists between visitors and the campus environment as well. So, first positive example that I have for you is this school out in Brooklyn. My photo does not do it justice, but when you walk in those doors, the meeting space and the study space is decorated like 1920s, upscale Brooklyn. It's beautiful. I felt like I was a guest in someone's very, very, very nice home when I visited this campus. The second example that I have is a school complete opposite out on Long Island in an old high school building. There's no residence halls on this campus, yet the way that they designed the outdoor space encouraged students to stay on campus and spend their time there and interact on campus. And what this did, what both of these schools really did, is create a space that felt welcoming. I think this is something that we do really well in higher education and as student affairs professionals. We are welcoming people, right? Yeah. So that's one, check, something that we're doing really great that has to do with the physical space. Maybe it was done by landscapers and interior designers, not student affairs professionals, but that's a collaboration. The next school, so one I'll call out by name because I think they're fantastic, is Edinboro University of Pennsylvania. And this school has, as a core function of its mission, is dedicated to accessibility, to being a school that any student who wanted to attend could attend this school. And it's evident on their campus. There are no stairs or steps leading up to the buildings of these schools. There are sidewalks, they are sloped, but not too steep. And this is the opposite of what we think of for that quintessential collegiate experience, with the steps leading up to the columns, with the rotunda and the statues of the presidents who went there. But at least every student can get to the door of that building. Even the side doors that aren't meant for regular use are accessible. I'm someone who, you heard, I like to bike, I like to wander around places. I typically take the stairs instead of the elevator. It's like a micro healthy lifestyle choice for me. I could not find the stairs in the student center at this school. You laugh, but it's great. The elevator was there so that people, anybody, could get where they needed to in that building. This was an immediate reflection of the values and mission of the institution. It was visibly, physically evident what Edinboro University cared about. And I wonder, what would it take for all of our institutions to be able to say that? That just by being on campus, you can see what it's all about. This is an example of a small chapter I worked with that were recruited out of this horrible, awkwardly shaped room with folding chairs. And while it's not the most beautiful, they made a positive first impression on the potential new members that walked in the door because of how the space was arranged to facilitate conversation. This is something we can take to our campuses. Where do people sit when they walk into your office if they have to wait? What do they think when they first walk in your office? What do they do if they have to wait 10 or 15 minutes because they showed up early and were excited? These are things that we can care about and fix to make a better first impression. And there are times when we do need to fix the first impression. That's a big pile of garbage. And I really did visit a campus that looked like this. I spent 4 days walking the same route on campus. There was trash and vomit all over the sidewalks, and nothing changed for 4 days. It was awful. I will admit that I was walking in some of the weirder places, but the reality is that any space can be the space that gives a first impression. We would love for it to be our recently remodeled Student Union Center with the state-of-the-art rock climbing wall that's 1 foot higher than the school down the road so that it's the tallest in the state. But more often than not, the parking garage is going to be the first impression. So what can we do with the parking lots? This photo, I'm not sure if you can tell, is of large, and I mean 5, 6 foot tall wooden paddles with Greek letters, and they hang prominently featured in the Student Union coffee shop of one of the institutions I visited. Now, many people, when they see Greek paddles, think tradition, but many also think hazing, violence, and disrespect. And the fact that those paddles are hanging in the Student Center could create a misunderstanding for some folks who've had a negative experience with Greek life. It's a coffee shop where every single visitor is going to have a meeting. So I would challenge us as student affairs professionals who control some of the space on our campus to think about the memorabilia and the art that we put up at our buildings. Got a little slow there. I didn't want to end on a bad note, so I present to you the reading room of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, also known as the University of Oklahoma Library. And this was the first place I was taken on my campus tour of this institution. Think about the first impression that that gave me of that school. So thank you all for your time, and thank you for sticking around for the late talks.